Isaac Bearfoot was undeniably influential in the local community in the early years he lived. The Reverend was both respected as a religious figure and sought after as a guide in translations and accounts of the Iroquois peoples. Despite this, very little is known about his personal history. Bearfoot was most likely born around the year 1841 in Grand River. He was an Onondaga by birth, but was adopted by the Kananga group, and grew to understand their language and culture better than the one of his birth. In the 1850s, he attended the Mohawk Institute. The Mohawk Institute is a residential school in Brantford, Ontario. Like all residential schools, it has a dark and painful past that continues to affect both former attendees and their families. While Bearfoot's personal experiences at the Mohawk Institute are unknown, whether good or bad, something inspired him to return there to teach. From 1869 to 1873, Bearfoot taught the female classes at the Institute, and from 1873 to 1876, he taught the males. While doing so, in 1871, he published a collection of psalms and hymns in the Mohawk language for the use of Six Nations Indians. This book was used in the Mohawk Reserve for teaching. Though little is known about Bearfoot, his dedication to giving back to the institution is clearly evident. In the 1870s, Bearfoot was trained at Huron College and was ordained a priest in 1878. He worked with many parishes throughout the 1880s, including the reservation at Whalepool Island, a parish at Point Edward near Sarnia, and in Dresden. He held the office of pastor in a white congregation of the Church of New England for many years, a point which gained him respect with Horatio Hale, an ethnologist, philologist, and businessman who enlisted Bearfoot's help in translating the Iroquois Book of Rights, published in 1883. Bearfoot translated the majority of the Kananga portion of the book, drawing on his understanding and the language of his upbringing. While Bearfoot's religious commitments and literary works are undeniably important parts of his story, his dedication to improving the lives of students at residential schools continues to be the enduring part of his legacy. Bearfoot once again returned to residential schools in the late 1880s. Bearfoot's commitment to education continued for the rest of his life. In the early 1900s, he worked as a school inspector at the Mohawk Institute and presumably held this position until his death in approximately 1911. Isaac Bearfoot was known and respected while he was alive. However, he has faded into a forgotten corner of history that afflicts so many Indigenous Canadians. However, his contributions to education and preaching make him one of Huron's most influential and remarkable students and a distinguished figure in Canadian history.